Hello, welcome.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Tiara, chocolate sushi roll, and this is.
this is Adam Beck. I'm from Hiroshima, Japan. Tiara, can you just tell everybody about you? Because there might be some new people here today.
Yes, okay. So I'm Tiara, and I started a YouTube channel called Chocolate Sushi Roll. So on this channel, I just really love empowering other mothers and parents to teach their child a second or even a third language by yourself and what you can do and kind of resources, empowerment, and play techniques. Myself, I'm a stay at home military family, stay at home mom. I have two kids. Jason, my
Okay.
oldest, is 5, and Olivia, my youngest, is 3. And as a non native, I'm teaching my children Japanese and Spanish.
Great,
Adam,
great.
can you tell us about your family?
Well, sure. Um, my family, I've been in Hiroshima, Japan for quite a while. My wife is Japanese, and we have two kids. And my daughter is 16, and my son is 13. Actually, tomorrow is my daughter's birthday, so she'll be
Oh, happy
16 tomorrow.
birthday!
Right. And so, I'm the founder of Bilingual Monkeys, the blog Bilingual Monkeys in the forum, the Bilingual Zoo, and the author of Maximize Your Child's Bilingual Ability. And I Want to Be Bilingual. That's another book. So
Oh, I can see that.
today, we're going to talk about a very important topic. And today's topic is language exposure. And language exposure is really the all important engine for generating success at a bilingual or multilingual aim. I mean, without language exposure, we really can't make much progress. So, um, you know, ultimately, I think the more input that we can provide to our kids, the more progress they can make. So again, this topic is so important, and there are a variety of ways to provide language exposure, and we're going to talk about some of those today. Tiara, how about you? Any general thoughts about language exposure? Tiara, I can't hear you right now. I lost you.
it's the
Okay,
most
got you back.
is the most important part of this whole journey is language exposure. I'm excited to get into it and talk about it, but basically, you have to show your children that you're not the only crazy person in this world speaking this language. That it's a thing. Other people are speaking it. They're having fun, and just the advantages that it gives them from knowing this. And I know on the work side, but also just as a child, just the exploring side and meeting new people and getting to play and eat new foods and go new places just because you can speak another language. And that's exciting for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, language exposure, again, it's so important. I mean, we can't overstate how important it is because without
Number
it,
one.
we're not going to make progress, right? And
Exactly.
the interesting thing too is that, there's so many different families in the world. We have so many different situations. We even have different goals, right? But, if there's one universal thing, it's that every family needs language exposure because without it,
Exactly.
you really won't get very far, right? And the more
Exactly.
you have of it, the farther you can go. So today, let's begin by talking about the first important type of language exposure, and that is ample speech. Talking as much as you can, as much as possible, from as early as possible to provide that oral input, right?
That's right.
And let me just say that, when I'm talking about this subject, raising bilingual, multilingual kids, I might seem talkative, but I'm really in real life, I'm not necessarily that talkative, but when I was teaching bilingual kids and working with my own kids, I knew I was very mindful of the fact that I had to be very proactive about being talkative, right?
Yes,
So
I
if
have
you're
to
not
remind
so
my
talkative,
husband all the
oh,
time.
go
I'm
ahead.
like, you're their English exposure. Please talk. you know?
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I mean, sometimes I understand, you know, like I said, for my own situation, I may not naturally be as talkative, but when you know how important exposure to the language, to the target language is, then you force yourself, you create
Yes.
habits to enable yourself to be more talkative. And I just wanted to share two quick things about how to do that. And it's particularly difficult when you have a baby, when you have a small child that isn't really responding yet, right? So
Yes.
the communication is basically one way. You have to keep up a monologue, right? So
Yes.
what can you do? You can
Uh-huh.
do two things. Number one, narrate your daily life. Give
Mm-hmm.
a play by play of what you're doing, what you're seeing, what you're thinking, what you're even remembering. You can bring back memories of your own childhood,
Oh.
you know, and talk about that. But this kind of narrating your life, what's happening continuously, just talk about it. Just talk because it's the volume of input. So that's
Yes.
number one. And number two
And
is, yeah, go ahead.
oh, yeah. And so I was gonna say, even if you don't have kids, I know a few people on here. Hey, Jacqueline doesn't don't have kids yet, but that's a strong technique that you can use even without kids. Is narrating your day that builds your vocabulary. Um, and with your kids, even at any age, he said babies, but at any age, narrating is perfect. My kids are 5. I have friends whose kids are 10. And you can say, hey, we're going to the bike. We're getting on the bike. We're going to ride to the store. When we get to the store,
Right.
we're going to see oranges. And then we're going to pick out this. That's all narrating means. It doesn't mean, it's just being mindful of talking about
Yeah.
everything you're doing.
Yes, exactly. And to help you do that, number two would be you could even post things around your house. You know, you can put pictures on the wall and
Yes.
describe the pictures. You could even put a list of topics, you know, put topics like just single words are enough. Dogs, cats, bicycles, you know, the zoo, whatever it is, and then just talk spontaneously about whatever comes to mind. It doesn't really matter, but what matters is the volume of speech, the volume of input. So the more that you can, you know, the more input, ultimately, eventually, the more output, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I know Adam talks about like a cup of water. If you keep pouring the water in the cup, what's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to overflow and the water's going to come out. So that's what we want. We want to just fill our children with the language and just fill it in until they just have no choice but to just let it burst out. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's even, I won't get too far into this, but there's
Mm-hmm.
research behind this. And there was a study, I think it's 1995, that was done in the United States, where they took, I think it was 42 families. These were monolingual families, but the same principle applies to
Mm-hmm.
bilingual families as well. And what they did is, in this whole process, or this whole study took about 6 years, but they were recording what the parents were saying to the babies. Okay, so
Oh.
parents and babies, and they were recording what they were saying and how much they were saying. And ultimately, I jotted this down. What they found, the researchers found a correlation between the volume of speech spoken by the parents to their children in the earliest years and the child's language ability and performance in school at a later age. And so one researcher said, of course, they were controlling for variables, but the important variable was how much talking the parents were doing. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it's the volume of speech. You know, there's research behind this, and the more speech you can provide to your children, whether that comes directly from you or from other speakers of the language, then the more progress that you and your children can potentially make.
Ah, okay. Yeah. That leads right into mine. Um,
Great.
um,
Please go
my
ahead.
my two are number one, play dates. Play
Okay.
dates. Yes, because you need to get them around natives. And I think that what you were saying about just filling them with the language as well as a non-native, he fortunately has a Japanese wife, so they can get those, nuances from his wife. But for me, I'm an American. I move like an American. I'm loud like an American. I'm a little bit rude, like an American, okay? And I'm like the anti-Japanese, okay? So I need to get them around Japanese people so they can get those nuances and just the way they move, the way they talk, the slang that they use. So you have that textbook language where in English you would say, I am going to the store. But if I was to say that to my child, I'd be like, oh, we going to the store. That sounded like two words, right? You heard,
Right.
I'm gonna in store. And you're like, what? So you have to, it's not really even slang, it's just the way we run slur words together.
Sure.
And that's hard to get from a textbook or these pre-recorded things they do because they're pre-recording it proper Japanese or proper Spanish, proper English. And so when you're around that native, and especially if you're around that native in her child, she's going to speak to her child the way she speaks to her child. She might change it up when she talk to you, but when she talked to her daughter, she's going to say what she was going to say the way naturally. And that's what I want to hear. So I'm like, ooh, what she just said to her? You said you didn't say tie her. You didn't say tie your shoe. What did you say? You know, I'm cueing in on all of that. She said something else. She said it a different way. So that's what I like to pick up. Now I'm gonna add when you do a play date to make it the most you can. Try to have an activity. I'm a Pinterest mom. Have an activity ready with your theme of the week. So if this week you were learning animals in Spanish, then when they come to your house, you're going to have like, my favorite is I made a zoo. So I had like a milk the cow station. You can use a cereal box with plastic, with the glove in the, cut the hole in the bottom, put
Nice.
water or milk if you're not afraid of mess, and put a little pinprick in the glove. Then they milk the cow. Then you take some cotton balls, you print out a sheep picture, and then they can glue cotton balls to the sheep. Or actually, if you already have it glued on, they can tear it off and shear in the sheep. You see what I'm doing here? Yes,
I
it's
love
cute,
that.
right?
I love
And
that.
it didn't take
I
me
love
that
that.
much time. I just printed out a cow picture, printed out a sheep picture. I already had cotton balls, and they take it off. They're shearing the sheep. Then you got to pin the tail on the pig, and you create like this little farm activity for them. And that way the foreign mom, she can lead this and help you lead it and say it in her native nuances and ways. Milk the cow. We're going to milk the cow. We're going to shear the
Nice,
sheep.
right.
And that's what you and your kids have been learning all week. You've been reading books about farm animals. You've been watching YouTube videos about farm animals. And then you're going to conclude that week's lesson, so to say, with the play date of the mom and her daughter or son coming over, the family, the Spanish family, Japanese family, coming over to your house, and they do the little farm activities. Now, after that, let the kids be kids. They eat snacks and they run around and just let them play and be themselves. But just try to have that one thing that goes along with what you were learning that week. And
Yeah,
that
very nice.
is what's
Right.
going
I think
concrete
that's
it in.
very, yeah, that's very nice. The idea of
Yeah.
taking a thematic approach to what you're doing, and that you could do things related to that theme at home and try to bring that theme out into the world in some way. So very nice. Yeah, very nice.
So my second, everybody gets two, is books. So as a
Yeah.
non-native, he was talking about talk about your day and say this, and that sounds lovely and easy to do if you know what it is you're doing in your second language. But I don't know how to say wash the dishes in Spanish or something like this. So how do we get these words?
Yeah.
Children's books. I have tons. So I talked about this a little bit last time about leaving books in the area of where they are. So I'll just say that briefly again. If it's a bathroom book, a book about pooping, put that in the bathroom. If it's a book about playing with dolls, put that one next to it and leave them in these areas. So when you get over there, it's already there and you don't have to think about it. You can go ahead and open it. If it's about brushing your teeth,
Right.
which might mean go get you some books about these different things, about different
Yeah,
topics.
don't put the book about the poop in the bed, right?
Well, got some stories. So, how do we make this book come alive? Don't just read the book. I'm not just going to read this book. We're going to go beyond just reading a book, okay? So, I picked a popular one. You guys know brown bear, what do you see? Right? They use the same phrase over and over again. Brown bear, what do you see? So later, when you're in the car, you say, Olivia, what do you see? and look out the window. When you're in the grocery store, Olivia, what do you see? Now, we might not know what we see, but we're going to say this phrase and we're going to see if we know something that we see. I might
Yeah,
see just
sure.
brown. If you only know colors so far in your language, then say, I see something brown. I see
Right,
red.
right,
I see,
right.
and that's it. Leave it at that. And then once you learn, in this book, it's animals, then go to a zoo. Go to a little zoo and say, what do you see? I see a dog. I see a rabbit. I see a, and bring this alive and use it. And then when you go home at night, we gonna read the book again, and it's gonna hit a little differently this time because you spent all day kind of bringing this book to life, that when you read it, they really do comprehend,
Okay.
you know, kumasan kumasan
Sure.
nani miteru no. They understand that miteru no means, what do I see? Oh, yes.
Right. And
So
I mean, you're using books in a way that actually takes you beyond the book into speech itself, right? So
yes,
you're bringing these two things together in an important and very productive way, I think. You
yes.
know, for me throughout, you know, my kids are a bit older now, right? But even today, even if I don't see them as much as I used to when they were smaller, talking a lot and reading a lot, these have been really the two main activities that the two main efforts of my adventures with my own kids. And, you know, they really do work together well, as
They
Tiara
do.
was saying. And so on it, you know, there are various ways to provide language exposure. And I think we'll talk about a few more ways too. There's a range of ways,
Yes.
but these two are so interactive and so productive, right? And also, I think the benefit of books too is that they can provide a richer form of language than, you know, daily conversation. So
Yes.
particularly conversation we may use with kids is not as rich or sophisticated as we might, you know, if we're speaking to adults, but even more so in terms of books that we can share with our kids, there is a sophistication, a richness to the language that they won't get really for the most part in daily conversation. So
Yes.
that's really important. And I think also for non-native speakers, and Tiara, maybe you can, you know, talk about this from your perspective, but, you know, what a non-native speaker maybe can do in terms of daily conversation, they can do more of if they have a book that offers, you know, richer language. So that's a really, really important resource, I think, for non-native parents who
Yeah.
are also, you know, perhaps also learning the language too, and they can advance their ability and their children's ability at the same time by taking advantage of reading aloud day after day after day.
Yeah, I'm all about sharing my resources with you guys. So if you are a Japanese learner, you can go to amazon.jp. As an English speaker, just change the language to English and you can still use Amazon JP. This company right here, they have books that are about third grade kanji level. It has furigana, and they talk about everyday Japanese life. Like they have how to cook rice, how to hold your chopsticks, how to use the bathroom, how to sweep. Those everyday things that he's saying narrate your life with. It's all right here in this book.
Good.
I don't know
Right.
who the target audience was when they made this book, because I feel like a native Japanese person would already know this. And I feel like a Japanese learner would not know this book exists. But they had it in my library, y'all. And I'm so glad I
Wow,
found it.
great,
So I already
great.
bought one of the series, and I plan to like overtime buy more. But you know,
Good.
when you're trying to go broke, right? So this one I got from the library. So check out your library and see what they have. But if you can buy this, I highly recommend. This one is the seasons, but they have like day-to-day life. They have just different categories. So, and then you just, again, like I said, you take those phrases. When it's fall, I will use the fall page to talk about how the leaves are changing colors when we go outside. And then we'll go pick some leaves. And y'all, I'm tired of crafting too. Bear with us. Do the craft. Okay? Look on Pinterest for something that's real simple. There's ones like the Skittles when you line the plate with Skittles and then you pour some milk and then it makes a rainbow. That's simple. Then y'all can eat Skittles at the end. It's stuff you already have in your house. There's some really simple ones that you can look for. And I'll start sharing those on my Instagram more, along with my Playdates, because I plan to do, starting once Corona free us up a little bit, I'm going to do a Playdate. Every week will be a different language. So we'll have an English kid over, then a Spanish kid, then a Japanese kid, then a week to rest my mind, and then do it again the next month. So I'll share what we're doing at each of those play dates so that you guys can see how I'm using the book of the week. Like this one's about space this month.
Okay.
So we'll be doing an activity about space with a Japanese family to kind
Very
of drive
cool.
home
Very
these
cool.
planet names and things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would emphasize, what you're saying about bringing books into your home, whether that's from the library or if you're able to. And I do recommend for the target language building a large home library. It's really
Yes.
important, I think, to have books in your home.
Yeah.
And just one other kind of tip is, and I often mention this, particularly to families that maybe they have a less common language and it's harder to find books in their language, books that they like. But there is something called wordless picture books, and you may have run across these, but there are many, many of these kinds of books. And wordless picture books, like the name suggests, they have no words,
Right.
they
The
have no language
bilingual,
at
the
all, or
trilingual,
minimal
however you
language.
read them.
They can be, you can tell the story in any language. You can tell it to the degree of your own language level. So you can, use any sort of language to tell the story, even if it's only simple words or sentences. And you can also gear your telling or talking about the book to your child's needs. So they're a really flexible and useful resource. You can Google them and find many, many wordless picture books. So we've talked about, what have we talked about? Talking a lot, reading a lot, and what other kinds of
Well,
language exposure are there? What else can we
Tingles,
do?
see, she's been talking to us. Hey, said a great one that I was going to mention. Songs. Children love
Yes,
music. If you're
yes.
dancing, if they're laughing, they're learning. We, especially in our earlier days, my son don't want to dance with me no more, but my daughter loves to dance. So we would put on Pink Fong, Baby Bus, Super Simple songs. These are all on YouTube in all the languages. They have Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, you name it. They got the same song in all the languages. So that means you can listen to
Uh-huh.
it in English and later listen to it in Japanese or Spanish, and the kids know the song because they knew it from English. They got brushing teeth. They
Right.
got every day. They even got earthquake song. So you can learn so much from these as a parent, and they all have captions at the bottom, so you can pause, write that down, and it's the same, just like a book. Where we gonna use this later. Shake the little dollhouse like, oh, Jishi, it's an earthquake, girl. Just
Right.
bring it to life and sing those
Absolutely.
songs. I like to try
Right.
to
Singing.
learn a song once every 2 weeks. Just learn one
Uh-huh.
song, and I don't put pressure on myself to actually like sit down and learn it. But that just means like make sure we listen to it at least once every day, and then eventually, it's just
Uh-huh.
like the radio. If you listen to something every day, eventually when the song comes on, you're like, ba, ba, boom. How do I know the words to that song? Y'all remember that one, right? Um, then
Well,
that it's
yes,
gonna get into your
yes.
brain. So that's what we do. Make sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my experience with my kids. I mean, it's yes, actively singing songs together, that's part of it, but a big part of it can be just playing music of the target language in the background. If you're persistent about that, I did that very mindfully, very proactively, day after day after day. And what happens, just as Tiara is suggesting, that music really seeps in, and the children even start to sing the song without having been taught the song. They just hear the music, and it really, that sort of exposure can be very valuable, I think. It's another way to continue to add to the input that the kids are receiving, right?
Yes,
Day
and I
after
was
day after day.
talking about themes. And I said our theme this month was space, outer space, and learning planets and kind of why the moon looks the way it does. So on Pink Phone, they have an outer space song. They have a couple of them. So what we're gonna do is we're going to listen to those songs this week. So try
Mhm.
to, if you can, keep within the theme for the music as well. So if it's, we were talking about farm animals earlier, we did our craft with our native play date over. We had some little farm cookies out and we played our game. Then we listened to on Pink Funk, Super Simple, Baby Bus, whatever your thing is, on YouTube. We listened to the song and we just played that while they're playing, having free time. It doesn't even have to be if you're in a no TV family. They don't have to look at the screen. You can just use your phone and, turn it upside down and just listen to the words. And that's also
Okay.
great, Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about music, and I did want to mention this. A couple weeks ago, I wrote a review of this product, okay? It's not
Oh, I
my
saw.
product. I have no financial stake in this, but it's really a fantastic tool. And I'm just going to show it to you. It's called, can you see it? Oh,
Uh-oh.
it's kind of
There
breaking
we
it
go.
up.
Yes.
It's called Chameleon Reader. Okay, there it is. Chameleon Reader. And why is it so fantastic? And I can't explain in a simple way how it does this.
Adam, I'm going to
Go to my
show it on the
review.
screen.
Okay, you
Mhm.
can go to my review and you can, read about it there, or just go to the Chameleon Reader website and you can find more about it. But what this can do, it's a tool, it's a kind of pen, but you
Mhm.
can add, it sounds amazing and it is, you can add audio to anything you want. And that means you can turn all your books, any of your books, into audiobooks in any voice you want, in any language you want. It's really
Mhm.
incredible, the flexibility and it's very effective for for enriching your home with more exposure, again, exposure to the target language. So it's called Chameleon Reader. I highly recommend it. I only came across, well, it's a relatively new product, but I came across it only recently when they reached out to me. And I was really, really impressed. And I wish I had actually had this tool when my kids were younger and when I was teaching bilingual, multilingual kids at school. But I highly recommend it in terms of adding audio in very creative, very flexible ways,
Mhm.
any language you want. It's really an incredible product. Check it out.
All right. That was great. And I guess I'll do my not getting paid for promotion as well. If you need those mama talk phrases, because resources are important, especially as a non-native speaker. So I don't mind
Absolutely.
endorsing these products because they're doing a great job in helping us learn these languages. So I use talkbox.mom and it's use Spanish at home. And this book, even if you can't afford the subscription at the moment, if you buy the book, it's like $20 or so. It has every phrase. You see, I've marked my phrases of the week. It has every phrase in here that you would say to your child, like sit down,
Wow.
get off that slide, go downstairs,
Uh-huh.
stop fighting with your brother, don't touch the knives. All those phrases that you're not gonna find in the book, that you actually need right now with your toddlers
Right.
running around. You're too loud. Sit down.
Especially don't touch the knives,
Don't touch the knives. I don't know
Put
why.
down the
They
knives.
they can't clean up, but they can find the knife.
Okay. I
You're
got
glad
it.
you're done with that phase, right?
That's
Right.
right. Well, that's
Um,
great. That's great. A
yeah.
book
Do
like
not.
that sounds
The first one I
very,
just
very
opened,
useful.
Adam, was do not put the
Okay.
battery in your mouth. It literally, I just
I love
opened a page.
that. I love
Okay.
that. I definitely could have used a book like that. I'm telling you, when my kids were small.
And they have
Don't
every
push the
language.
block into the VCR. We went through that.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I know. That was VCR days, though, right? But
All
let me just say resources. We talked about a couple of very specific resources, but in general, when we talk about exposure, you can talk, 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 and that's very important, obviously. But beyond that, to do a range of other things, including reading aloud or playing music, you need resources, right? So this is you need to make an ongoing commitment
Yeah.
to finding suitable resources
Mhm.
in your target language, or a wordless picture book, which could be used in any language, or
Right.
something
And we
like
might just do a
Chameleon
live
Reader that's flexible.
about
But you need
resources.
resources. And so really make that a priority, throughout the childhood years.
Right. Exactly. All right. So, Adam, if you're ready, We
I'm
are
ready.
wanting to hear from you all. Please, if you have
Sure.
questions, now is the time. We're opening it up for comments and questions from you, the viewers. We ready? Daniel, yes, I can say the book. Sorry, it was talkbox.mom. I'll type it here in the comment section. And that's the name of their website, even though it's for dads too. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, okay, we can say hi to some people. Can you see the chat as well, Adam?
I can't see it. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
So if
We have
somebody is
Jacqueline.
watching and saying hello, I'm sorry, but I really can't see it. So
Hi,
sorry.
girls. She's learning English. Of course, English, Spanish, and Japanese. We have Ting from Australia.
Oh, great. Hi. Hi, Ting.
They're learning Cantonese. Oh, I love
Oh,
it.
yes.
So we in this kanji community together. Bill from
Fantastic.
Argentina speaking Spanish and English.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, okay. He asked for the book name. Tiara, what was the name of the place who makes those books? Is it the Japanese books? Where are we? This one? I don't know the company. But if you put in the Zukan kanji or Kisetsu no Zukan, it comes up really easily. I don't know. Where's the company name on here? I'm not sure. I can't
That's a
see.
massive book. It must be a big company, right?
Yeah, it's a really big book, right? It's this
Looks like
NEO.
NEC, but
NE.
maybe, oh, NEO?
It's
Is that an
NEO.
NEO?
Yeah. I'm sure you'll
Okay.
find it.
Okay.
I did not have a hard time finding it on Amazon JP at all. Okay.
Great, great.
So if
Any
anybody
other
has any
questions
questions,
out there? Anything at all?
yeah, so far not. All right, well, we could keep talking all day, y'all.
Well,
So,
there's endless amounts of exposure, I guess. There's so many different ways to do it. But, at the end of the day, it's really
yes, I
about
can.
the volume. It's the volume of exposure, the volume of input you're able to provide your child on a regular basis. And that exposure really needs to be as interactive as possible. It doesn't mean that, more passive exposure like TV or videos, that's all very useful too, but that really should be supplemental to the active, interactive sorts of exposure like talking a lot, reading a lot, listening to music, singing songs together, playing games together, role playing together, for example.
Exactly.
There are many, many types of activities that are more interactive, and then there are some that are more passive. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but a child really won't become bilingual if you just plop them in front of a TV for 20 hours a week. That kind of exposure, I would say, the majority of the exposure needs to be interactive in some way, human to human.
Okay, so we have tips for shy kids or kids with low confidence that are kind of afraid to speak. Yes.
Okay.
That's
I
very
mean,
good.
lead with the child's interest. What do they really enjoy doing, just naturally? And then how can you, use your target language to engage them in that activity? What do they like doing? Follow the child's lead. I think that's how I've approached my own parenting and as a teacher as well. But, what can you do if your child is interested in dinosaurs, what can you do to engage them in dinosaurs, even in a small way,
Yeah.
right? So, take a day, and if you're not able to use the target language throughout the day, it's perfectly fine to set aside 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever works for you, to say that this is our language time. And during this time, we're going to read books together, we're going to sing songs together, but we're going to there's going to be exposure during that time. So you at least have that concentrated period of time day after day where they're getting that input, right? That incredibly valuable input. Tiara, what do you think?
I'm going to say when I've had a shy English kid, some of the things that I do, don't force them. And some people are like, they need to be speaking by now. It's been a month, it's been 2 months or whatever. They need to be speaking it by now. And it's like, who Who said that? There's no time when they're supposed to be speaking it, so you don't want to force them. To make them comfortable. So, like I said, play dates are most important. So, see if you can find a family that's willing to come multiple times. So, we need to meet just very casually, no pressure, multiple times at first. And then once she's comfortable with that family being y'all's play date family and y'all meet every week and she realizes, okay, they're nice, we meet every week, then she'll start to open up in front of them. So try to find someone that can commit to that level of language exchange with you. And there are families out there, so don't give up that are looking for you as well. Somebody that can meet with them regularly for that English. Okay. Right. And what is it? Shy. And I piggyback what Adam said. Follow the interest, and that's the most important thing. We have a little girl that comes over here, and she's so shy, and she'll just hide behind her father. And I realize that she thinks Jason is hilarious. So once I found whatever it was that makes her giggle, then we're gonna run on that. So then I'm like, Jason, come here. Like, Jason, absolutely, you need to do this for me so that she will get more engaged. And so sometimes he's like, oh man, but it's like, come here. So he'll do it for me, and it's like, just pop this balloon in front of her, and then she'll get to giggling, and that kind of loosens her up. So just keep waiting and find that one thing that really just makes their little eyes glow. And once you found it, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, it's a playful approach, isn't it? Yeah, it's playfulness. I think we talked about this, in the last live chat, but, we have to be persistent, right? But we have to be playful at the same time. So it's playful persistence is what we need, I think, right?
All right, we have another question. And this one hits home for me. Okay, Ting says, any suggestions on how to work through your child's resistance to language exposure? Like if you're playing music or TV and the target language and the child's like, I don't want to watch it, I don't want to see it. Or, you're trying to talk to them and they don't want it, they're not feeling it.
Okay. Tiara, what do you think?
You're going to let me go first. Okay. So right now, I have a very moody 5-year-old. And we've just hit this landmark of moods. Like, he decided, I know what I want to watch on YouTube. I know what I want to be doing at this time. And I think that's what it is. And so we're in this place of redefining our relationship, because like when they were 3 and 4, you could just put it on and they're, my mama put on cartoons, but now he knows how to change it. He knows the remote. He knows what he wants to do. So what do you do? How do you work through it? I think with me, number one, routine. So if they know, like I was saying, I was doing Spanish an hour before bedtime. So if they know at 7 p.m. is Spanish time, regardless, every night, and it's hard for me too, but we need to stick with it and be consistent. And every day, set a timer on your watch, set a timer on your phone. At 7, when it goes off, boom, that means we're cutting everything off, and this is what we're doing right now. We're having family time, and we're doing the Spanish. We're listening to it. It might be something, if you guys had a hard day, then just listen to it. If you guys are having a good day and you're feeling more energetic on that day, do more. Talk, sing, play a different game, but just fill out the child, because if they're hungry, if their needs aren't met, they're hungry, cranky, hot, cold, any of these things, then they're not going to be receptive to anything. So make sure they're fed. Make sure they're kind of in a good mood before you're doing this, because you don't want it to feel like a chore. You want it to be something fun. Kids like attention from mommy. So maybe show them that they get this happy, fun, attentive mommy when you're doing language time. So don't, sit and you're slouched on the couch and you're like, all right, just put this language video on. Y'all come sit here and watch this. Like, I wouldn't want to do it either. So make sure that take your happy pill, girl. And just, guess what time it is? It's Spanish time, and we're going to do it. And make sure you get up and you dance with them. Whatever you're expecting your child to do, are you doing it yourself? And that's kind of, like, you're like, go read a book. Are you reading a book? They're like, why aren't you memorized brush your teeth yet? Why don't you understand it? Did you memorize it yet? And it's kind of like, if you kind of reflect that mirror back on yourself, you can see how high or low you're putting the expectations on the child. Yeah. That's my take.
Yeah. I mean, I call it, in my book, I call it the magical ingredient for motivation, something like that. But it is enthusiasm. And Tiara was just talking about that. I mean, the more enthusiastic we are about an activity, then the potential exists for the more enthusiastic our children will be. So we really need to approach it in that light. And at the same time, if we can make this an event, if we make it in a, it's a special event, and maybe it can include the whole family, even the partner, the spouse that is not necessarily an active part of the bilingual journey. But if they can be a part of this too, that it can be a family event, like we're going to have a movie night on Saturday night, and we're going to all sit down together, and wow, we're going to have a great movie, and it can be a surprise, and we're going to have popcorn, and maybe even we'll have a lollipop, but we want to
Mm-hmm.
associate positive feelings with this language, right?
Yes.
So the more we can do that, again, that comes through our own enthusiasm, but it can also come through, how we present the resources or the activity that we want our children to engage in, right? And so, if you can enlist support from the whole family in some way, then the child that may be experiencing some resistance, that may help them overcome that resistance too. Okay. What else? Anything else?
No, we got, great tips. These are great ideas. I'm taking note of everything. Okay, get them to make friends who only speak the target language. Olga, thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. When we have the Spanish play date, when we have the English play date and the Japanese play date, I do like, hey, when you enter my house, I know you speak English or you might understand, but I need you to cut all that. Okay? Only speak Spanish, please. Only speak Japanese. Only speak. Because if they find out they can speak the easier language, then they're going to take it's only human nature. They're going to take the easy road out. And they're like, oh, she
Right.
understands English. So I'm just going to still speak English, even though she's Spanish. So
Right.
don't let them know.
Right.
Keep it a
Absolutely.
secret.
Yeah, children are pragmatic. I think it's important to remember that. It's a basic principle that children are pragmatic. They will take the easy way. So if there's a possibility to engage them, um, so they feel comfortable and they feel like they can use the language, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're coaching them or feeding them some of the language that they need, then I think they can make more of an effort, right? But
Right.
again, that pragmatic side is something to consider.
Yes. So we are talking about my 5 year old who is kind of cranky. So he loves Japanese. That's his number one favorite language. He says he doesn't want to go back to America because he loves Japan so much. Okay? He going back though. Sorry. So we have to do English lessons when he gets home because he goes to Japanese school. And a lot of people, let me say this, a lot of people think that because we live in Japan that we have like this advantage. He goes to Japanese school. But either way, wherever you live, you have an advantage in one language. Okay? So if he went to American school, he would still have an advantage in English. So I feel like we have an advantage in our one language, but I still have to fight him on the English now. When we get home, okay, we need to speak some English, we need to do English lessons. And so I do feel exactly what you're feeling about getting them to feel that resistance if they're like, no, I don't want to do that today. I don't want to. Why do I have to do this? So I'm right here with you. Yeah. Daniel says, how to cope with fear and not doing good to our children for trying to make them bilingual. How to cope with fear and not doing good for our children for trying to make them bilingual.
Is it about the parents' feelings,
Yeah, I think this is like
that,
this is like mom guilt, or as I call it.
no, what I really emphasize to parents is nobody's perfect. None of
Mm-hmm.
us are perfect at this, and it's a big process of trial and error. It's almost an
Mm-hmm.
endless process. I mean, it lasts throughout childhood if you don't, give up. And the only way to fail really is to give up. As long as you keep going, your child will make progress. As
Yeah.
long as you keep going and trying. right? So you can't, we don't, no one does this perfectly. We just
Mm-hmm.
have to keep going and doing the best we can. We try to learn, from whatever doesn't work. How do we make this work better next time? Or maybe this just isn't going to work right now. So let's try something else. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you that the parents, I've talked to many parents who have shared this kind of idea, but that they feel kind of continually frustrated, or they can feel that they're continually failing. But ultimately, and one parent summed it up so well, is that, she keeps failing upward in a way. You know what I mean? All you
Oh,
have to
I feel
do is
that.
keep
I
failing
felt that when you
enough,
said
and you
that.
keep, well, that's perfectly fine, because you will generate progress over time as long as you keep going. So it doesn't really matter. You just have to keep going and doing the best you can to improve your own tactics. And that's why we talk about it. And you hear about other parents and what they've been doing, and you read
Mm-hmm.
about it, and you try things out, and you know what I mean? So it comes
Yeah.
from various ways, but finally it's about you and your kids, and what you can do in terms of how to work with your kids, because you know your kids better than any of us, right?
Yes.
But I would just really stress the idea that you don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to keep going. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep going for
No,
another
I
day.
like that feeling upwards. I really did feel that because Daniel, you're not alone. I know I run these chats and I write and do the YouTube channel and share our progress, but I also feel the failure sometimes too. Like, for instance, my son, his English is not very clear right now. He can pass any standard test. He's above, reading level, all these kind of things in English, but it doesn't come out super clear. Why? Because he prefers to speak Japanese 90% of the day. So again, he has that comprehension. If you ask him to write you an English sentence, he will write it. He understands everything you say. But when he goes to, like his common phrase right now is he says, I can't don't. I can't don't, mom. And I'm like, I can't don't. What is that? So, and people are like, they assume that his English is perfect because he has American parents. So I kind of feel like, in a way, am I failing him because if we had not introduced other languages, then maybe his English would be spot on. And you see, I've seen a 3-year-old who speaks like clearer than me. And I've seen 4-year-olds, and you're looking at them and you're like, oh my goodness, our English is perfect. And then my baby with his I can't don't, is over here. So I did feel that when you said failing upwards. It's like, I know we're doing a good thing and we're doing it, but in those moments, in those tiny moments, you do feel the mom guilt. And that's why I'm
Right.
going to do a promo for Adam, y'all. But he made another book with inspirational quotes in it. What's the name of the book? The,
Oh,
the
is it the ebook?
Yeah, the ebook.
Yeah, it's called Instant Inspiration for Parents Raising Bilingual Kids, I believe. So it's a free ebook.
It's
You
a
can
free
find it
book.
at my blog.
Yes, I love it so much. I got a notebook. This is just a little journal notebook, and I wrote down my favorite quotes from it. And when I feel like I'm in a bad place, like I can pick one of these and like read it and know that, you know what, like he said just a few minutes ago, the only way you can fail is if you quit, and you're only failing them if you stop now, because you've already
Right.
started something. It's like a snowball effect. It's already moving and it's bigger than you, so just keep it going.
Right. And that ebook,
Okay.
again, you can download it for free. It's called Instant Inspiration.
Mm.
Just, search for instant. But it has over 600 quotes about
See, I'll put the picture up.
various aspects, I think important aspects of the psychological or emotional side to this experience, because it can be, I think, in a way, I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
strategic side of it is important, obviously, but there's this also psychological or emotional side of it, which can be very daunting sometimes. And so what I did with this ebook is collect
Mm-hmm.
quotes, over 600 quotes that can be, a shot of inspiration at a time of doubt or frustration. So I hope it can be helpful to you. But
Yes,
again, the main thing
it
is
was
keep
helpful for
going,
me.
keep
I was
going,
trying to
and
find a
reach out
picture
if
of
you,
it and I was gonna post
yeah,
it
if
if
you
you
need
guys want.
support, reach out to someone. You can always come to
Yes,
the forum, the
I'm
Bilingual
here.
Zoo, for help.
Yeah. All right, we have another question. Ting says, question: when you have your play dates, do your kids ever ask you, the parent, to translate to your guests? Since your kids know you are trilingual, has this happened before? How do you handle this? I does this go together? I think the fear comes from not understanding bilingual education well enough. Try to explain. Oh, you're helping out. Okay. So, about the playdate question, do my kids ever ask me to translate for the guests? No, no, my children haven't, but again, my children are just coming of age to be able to actually ask things of like this. So I think moving forward and our after Corona, when our play dates resume again, this may be something that comes up, and I will love to address how I handle this with you as it is. But my 5 year old is just starting to be able to ask things like and realize that pronunciation is a word and a thing. And because below 5, they just got to take what they get. You know, they're playing ball with the kid and the kid's not speaking their language, but what I'm going to do about it? Because they don't have the words to say, Mommy, what did you say yet? Kind of. So no, I haven't. Have you, Adam? Had to your children actually translate for them?
That really hasn't been an issue in our family. I mean, that comes up with many families, obviously. I think the main point would be that you continue being as consistent as you can about using the target language with your child, even if you do need to turn to someone else and use the majority language with someone else. But the more consistent you can be with your child about the target language, about using the target language, the more you can potentially, condition them to use that language with you, right? And let me just, oh, Tiara, do you have something else?
No, they're just saying that's great. We as parents raising bilingual children need to stay motivated. And Daniel said, it's bigger than you. That's the scary part. He's glad he's not alone. So thank you. And
Yeah, absolutely.
finding a
You're never
community,
alone.
joining these
Right,
groups, joining these chats, joining like his Adam's forum, Facebook pages for bilingual parents, for non-native bilingual
right.
parents. That helps me because then you can see how other people are I'm not gonna say messed up, but how other people's journeys are going
Sure,
and
how they're
how
navigating
they
it.
learned from their mistakes, how they did this, and they'll post about it
Right,
and they say, I realized I wasn't praising my child when they spoke in the second language. I only ever fussed at them in Spanish, and that's I realized I need to be happier. And you're like, do I do that? So you get to see fuss in all the languages, y'all. So that they don't tend to stray away from one because that's the trouble language. But yeah, we're in this
right.
together. We're all having those doubts, and we have those doubts about everything. Potty training. My child potty trained late. My child potty trained early. Writing with a pencil. So don't think it's just the bilingual thing. They're gonna question you about everything. She said her child was
Yeah.
autistic, and people were saying she was not doing him good, but that is just lack of understanding about how things work in our brain. And she said the fear comes from not understanding bilingual education well enough. Exactly. Thank you
Okay,
for sharing that with
okay.
us.
Absolutely. And, continue informing yourself the best you can, right? There's a lot of resources out there, a lot online, books, things like that.
Yeah.
Let me just sum up. We're probably
Mm-hmm.
coming to the end now,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to sum up one, suggestion or a tip or even homework. Maybe I'll give you some homework. But I think it can be really useful from time to time to actually sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and really think through what what are the types of language exposure that my child is getting and how much are they getting of each kind of language exposure, right? So in terms of our conversation today about language exposure, if you actually do that and you kind of evaluate, your child's current situation in terms of the language exposure they're receiving, the kinds of language exposure and the amounts, it can really be eye-opening in terms of, well, what is happening actually, because it's very easy and difficult actually to go through day by day. And it's difficult to do that, to sit down, take, quiet 30 minutes and really take a larger bird's eye view of what your situation is like. But it really can be revealing and empowering because then you can look and you see, oh, we're doing this and we're doing that, but I'm really not doing this as much as perhaps I could
Hmm.
because I'm not really being consistent about, let's say, reading aloud every day, something like that. So when you do that and you assess your situation, you calculate the hours. And by the way, I would suggest, of course, as many hours a week of input as possible, the more the better. But a good benchmark, a useful benchmark is something like 25 hours a week. If you're much less than that, it can be difficult if your aim is strong and active language ability. Okay.
Yes.
So there's no magic number. It really varies for every family because circumstances are different and
Yes.
aims can be different, right? But anyway, it can be a really revealing opportunity to sit down and really think through what kind of exposure is my child getting right now?
Yeah.
And how much are they getting? And are there ways that we can shore up that exposure? Can we fortify it? Can we strengthen it? Can we increase it? What can we do, right? And then the more you can do, the more progress you'll potentially make, okay?
Yes.
So anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to say.
That's wonderful.
But I encourage all of you to just keep going day by day. Again, the only way to fail ultimately is to stop plodding forward day after day. Keep plotting. Keep plotting. Okay.
Yes. That was perfect. That was a perfect wrap up. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you all for coming. We love you. Mwah. Make sure you like and subscribe. Bilingual Monkeys, Chocolate Sushi Roll. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah, and this video will be available at both channels. So, for any friends that couldn't make it tonight, then please share the link to the video.
Yeah, share.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.